Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time we are exploring negotiation. Specifically, we're going to be looking at Getting to Yes by Roger Fisher, William Ury, and Bruce Patton.
Oh, yeah, this is a classic.
It is a classic.
It's still very relevant today.
And we're going to find out why ditching the trench warfare mentality is so key
Yes.
to successful negotiation.
Very important.
How understanding somebody's deeper interests can unlock those really creative solutions.
Absolutely.
And why even kindergartners can have some really important negotiation wisdom to offer.
Yeah, that's right. This book really emphasizes that negotiation is not about winning or losing. It's about finding solutions that work for everybody. It's a collaborative process, not a battle.
That makes a lot of sense. So instead of digging in our heels, we should be looking for that common ground. I'm curious to know more about what the book means by this trench warfare mentality.
Yeah. Imagine, those dramatic negotiation scenes in movies where people are entrenched in their positions, making demands, unwilling to budge. That's that trench warfare mentality that the book is warning us about. It creates that adversarial dynamic that can often lead to an impasse or agreements that just aren't truly sustainable.
I see, yeah. So it's more about building bridges than burning them, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I can think of a time when I was so focused on winning that I missed an opportunity to understand the other person's perspective. Have you ever been there?
All the time. One of the key insights, though, from Getting to Yes is the importance of separating the people from the problem, recognizing that everyone comes to the table with their own emotions, perceptions, their past experiences. That helps us to approach the negotiation with more empathy and a focus on understanding, not just arguing.
So it's not enough to just have the facts on our side. We also need to be aware of the human element.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
The book uses a great example of a couple arguing about vacation plans
Yes.
to kind of illustrate this point.
Yeah. The classic beach versus mountains dilemma. It seems like an impasse until they delve deeper and discover the underlying interests. One person values relaxation, while the other craves adventure. And by understanding these deeper needs, they arrive at a really creative solution. Vacation by a mountain lake.
Right.
Which blends both of their desires.
The mountain lake solution, that's great. It's such a great illustration of how focusing on interests rather than the positions can unlock those win-win outcomes.
Yeah.
So how do we go about uncovering these hidden interests in a real-world negotiation? Are there any practical tips that the book offers?
The book emphasizes active listening and asking those open-ended questions so you can understand the why behind someone's stated position.
Okay.
What are their concerns? What are their motivations?
Yeah.
By truly listening and trying to understand their perspective, we can often find those hidden interests that can lead to those creative solutions.
So it's about asking what's important to you instead of what do you want.
Exactly.
Yeah. That reminds me of a time when let's just say I learned that lesson the hard way.
I think we've all been there. Getting to Yes encourages us to approach negotiation as a collaborative problem-solving exercise rather than this battle of wills.
Absolutely. So we've talked about moving away from the trench warfare mentality, understanding the importance of uncovering those hidden interests. What other valuable insights does this book offer?
Another key takeaway is the concept of using objective criteria.
Yeah, okay.
Getting to Yes suggests we use neutral standards to evaluate potential solutions. We move away from subjective opinions and my way or the highway tactics.
Right. So instead of throwing out numbers or arguing based on gut feelings, we can use data or market values, other agreed upon benchmarks to kind of guide the negotiation. That just seems like a much fairer, more rational approach.
Exactly. It's like using a compass to navigate the negotiation process. For instance, like when you're determining a fair price for a house.
Right.
We can look at comparable sales in the area, recent appraisals, other objective measures, and reach a mutually agreeable price.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And this principle of using objective criteria doesn't just apply to financial negotiations.
Right. It can be applied to a wide range of situations. Anytime you can find a neutral standard that's relevant to the issue being negotiated,
Yeah.
whether it's industry best practices, expert opinions, or even established procedures, you create a more level playing field
Yeah.
and reduce the likelihood of conflict. What's fascinating is that the book even addresses those situations where objective criteria is difficult to find.
Oh, I'm intrigued. How do you navigate those?
Well, they highlight the importance of fair process when objective criteria is difficult to define.
Okay.
Think about the simple act of cutting a cake.
Oh, okay.
I cut, you choose. is a classic example of ensuring a fair outcome, even when there's no objective way to define the perfect slice.
I've never thought about it that way, but that's a great example. So we've
Yeah.
covered ditching the trenches, understanding hidden interests using objective criteria.
Right.
What else does getting to yes have in store for
Yeah.
us?
Well, the book emphasizes that preparation is power when it comes to negotiation.
Okay.
You don't want to walk into a negotiation unprepared.
I can only imagine how that would go.
Yeah.
Are there any specific preparation tips that stand out to you?
Getting to yes encourages us to gather as much information as possible about the issue being negotiated, the other person's motivations, their constraints. It's like having a roadmap before embarking on a journey. The book even advises creating a negotiation map, outlining your goals, your BAIT TN.
Now, what is a BAIT TNA?
BAIT TNA stands for Best Alternative to a Negotiated Agreement.
Okay.
Essentially, it's what you'll do if you can't reach an agreement in the negotiation. Knowing your BAIT TNA gives you a sense of your options and helps you determine your walkaway point. It can also give you more confidence during the negotiation.
That makes a lot of sense. So preparation is about more than just knowing the facts. It's about understanding the dynamics of the situation.
Right.
Having a clear sense of your own goals and options. I've certainly learned that the hard way.
We've all been there. Preparation can make all the difference.
Absolutely. So we've covered a lot of ground already. Ditching the trenches, uncovering hidden interests, using objective criteria, the importance of preparation. What else does getting to yes have to say about navigating these complexities of negotiation?
Well, beyond the strategic elements, the book emphasizes the vital role of communication in successful negotiation.
That seems pretty obvious, but I'm sure there's more to it than just talking to each other.
Of course. Getting to yes stresses the importance of active listening, rephrasing to ensure understanding, speaking in a way that's clear, calm, focused on facts rather than emotions.
I can see how that would be crucial, especially when things start to get a little bit heated. Do you have any tips for staying calm and composed during those, really tense moments during a negotiation?
The book suggests taking a moment to cool down before responding, perhaps using a calming mantra or taking a few deep breaths, anything that helps you stay centered and focused on that goal of reaching a mutually beneficial agreement.
It sounds like getting to yes offers a wealth of wisdom for anyone looking to improve their negotiation skills. But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I'm curious to hear more about the limits of negotiation.
Oh, that's a great point. While the book provides some very powerful tools and techniques, it's important to remember that negotiation is a complex process, and we can't always guarantee a successful outcome. Even with the best intentions and skillful execution, there are limits to what we can achieve through negotiation.
So we've been talking about all these tools and techniques that getting to yes offers. But what about those situations where, despite our best efforts, we just can't reach an agreement?
You've hit on a really crucial point. The book acknowledges that not every negotiation is going to end in a signed agreement, no matter how skilled we are.
Yeah.
Sometimes we encounter people who are just unwilling to engage in good faith, or there may be fundamental differences that are simply irreconcilable.
Right. It's not like a magic formula
No.
to get everybody to agree with us. It's more about setting the stage for a productive conversation where both parties can come to the table with an open mind and a willingness to collaborate.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm curious, what does the book suggest we do when we find ourselves in those situations where an agreement just seems impossible?
One of the things getting to yes really emphasizes is knowing your BTNA, your best alternative to a negotiated agreement.
Right. We touched on that a little bit earlier.
It's essentially your backup plan.
Okay.
What you'll do if you can't reach an agreement in the negotiation.
Right. So having a strong BTNA gives you more leverage in the negotiation because you're not desperate to reach any agreement. You have other options.
Exactly. And it can also help you determine your walk-away point, the point at which it's more beneficial for you to walk away from the negotiation than to accept the terms being offered.
Okay.
Knowing your BTNA empowers you to make those informed decisions and avoid concessions that aren't in your best interest.
Yeah, that's a helpful way to think about it. It shifts the power dynamic, even if you're in a situation where you feel like you have less leverage. Speaking of power dynamics, how does the book address those situations where there's a clear imbalance of power between the parties?
That's a great question.
For example, negotiating a raise with the boss, or advocating for yourself in a situation where you don't have as much, bargaining power.
Getting to yes acknowledges that those power imbalances can really influence the negotiation process.
Yeah.
In those situations, the book suggests focusing on the benefits of collaboration and mutual gain.
Okay.
Even when there's a power differential, you can still try to frame the negotiation in a way that highlights shared interests and the value that you bring to the table.
So it's about finding those points of alignment, even in situations where it seems like, the scales are tipped in one direction. Like, for example, let's say, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, where an employee is negotiating a raise. Instead of just focusing on the salary number, they could highlight how their contributions have benefited the company, or how a raise would allow them to be even more productive and engaged in their work.
Exactly. It's about making a compelling case for why a mutually agreeable outcome is in everyone's best interest.
Right.
And even if you can't completely level the playing field, you can still strive for that fair and respectful process by using objective criteria and focusing on clear communication.
So even though getting to yes doesn't offer a guaranteed path to, victory in every negotiation,
Right.
it does provide us with a really powerful set of tools and a mindset that can help us navigate just the complexities of human interaction more effectively.
Yeah.
It's about approaching negotiation as a problem-solving exercise, not a battle of egos.
Absolutely. And as we've discussed, it reminds us that negotiation isn't about warfare. It's about finding creative solutions that meet everyone's needs. It's about understanding the people involved, the emotions at play, and the importance of clear, respectful communication.
It's about recognizing that even in the most challenging negotiations, there's always the potential for a win-win outcome if we approach it with the right mindset and the tools that getting to yes provides. And hey, maybe we could even learn a thing or two from kindergartners about fair play and cutting cakes.
Now that you mention it, the I cut you choose method is a fantastic real-world example of finding fairness even when objective criteria is difficult to pinpoint.
Yeah.
It really highlights the book's emphasis on finding creative solutions and embracing that collaborative spirit.
Right. It's about moving beyond that win-lose mentality and recognizing that negotiation can be a positive sum game where everybody benefits. But as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I'm curious to know what you think is the biggest takeaway our listeners should walk away with from getting to yes. What's the most fascinating aspect of this book, in your opinion?
What's fascinating is that getting to yes isn't just a collection of, negotiation tactics.
Right.
It's really a fundamentally different way of thinking about negotiation altogether. It challenges us to shift from that mindset of competition to one of collaboration.
Right. So seeing the negotiation as a shared problem to be solved,
Exactly.
rather than a battle to be won, that seems like it would make a big difference in how we approach the entire process.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we're not adversaries. We're partners working together to find a solution that meets everybody's needs. And the book equips us with the tools to do just that. From understanding the power of interests over positions to using objective criteria as our guide, these principles can be applied to any negotiation, whether it's in our personal lives or professional endeavors, even on a global scale.
Wow, that's really empowering. It suggests we have more control over the outcome of our negotiations than we might realize. Even if we can't control the other person's behavior or guarantee a positive outcome every time, we can control how we show up, how we communicate, and how we approach the process itself.
That's a key takeaway, and it raises an important question for our listeners. Knowing what we've discussed about uncovering deeper interests and searching for creative solutions, how might you approach a negotiation you're facing right now in a new way? What possibilities might be hidden just beneath the surface if you shift your focus from winning to understanding?
That's a great question to ponder. So to our listeners, as you navigate the, inevitable negotiations that life throws your way, remember the wisdom of getting to yes. Ditch the trenches. Connect with the human beings across the table from you and strive for those solutions that benefit everyone involved.
And who knows, you might be surprised by the creative and fulfilling agreements you can reach when you approach negotiation as a collaborative journey rather than a battle to be won.
Well, that's a great note to end on. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of negotiation. We hope you've gained some really valuable insights from getting to yes that you can apply to your own life. Until next time, happy negotiating.